Welcome, everyone. It's Petty Officer Romero with Job Corps, and today we have a special show for you. My guest, Mr. Jeff Ray, he's the newest instructor on the staff. He's also a lawyer, and one of the things that Job Corps wanted us to talk to you about is voter registration and voting in general. And so we brought in someone who has a lot of knowledge about that particular subject, and he's going to bring some of that information to you and try to get you a little bit of information to understand what you need to do in order to get registered to vote and the importance of it. Mr. Ray, how you doing today? Welcome, man.
David, thanks for having me. Today with the Carl D. Perkins Job Corps Center here in Prestonsburg, Kentucky, we want to make sure that we talk to our students, make sure that they have the ability to go and ensure that they are registered at the proper location. There's been some communications back and forth with students, so we're going to sit down and have a little conversation about how to make sure that you, as a student, are properly registered where you need to be registered. And that's the point of us here today.
Well, we have students that come from all over the country. So one of the things that maybe you can explain to them is are they going to be able to vote here in Kentucky if they return before the election, or how would that work?
Well, I'll start this off with making sure that the students know that I'm a Florida attorney, so I can't give legal advice on this specific issue, but I can run you through what I have found in the Kentucky publications. For purposes of voting, you have to be in Kentucky for 28 days before the election as a resident of Kentucky. There is some discrepancy in what constitutes a temporary removal from Kentucky for purposes of voting. This means that if you're not going to be here as of October 4th, you need to contact the voter registration office here in Kentucky and in your location in order to make sure that you are properly registered where you need to be registered. Even if you're outside the county, you have to actually transfer your registration in order to be able to vote in the county in which you are going to be a resident of as of October 4th.
Well, as of the date of our show here, we're less than 60 days away from the election. So let's take an angle of assuming that the students aren't back on campus, how would they just go about registering to vote in their area where they currently live? Is it difficult? Is it complicated? How would they go about doing that?
David, it's not at all complicated. And the importance right now in time, as you were aptly pointing out, we're actually less than 30 days out from the requirement here in Kentucky to be properly registered and in your proper location. So we're actually closing down on this time much faster than we're all really looking at. With that being said, you should contact your voter registration office, and we will supply a hyperlink to your relevant states in order to make sure that you can quickly get online and take a look at what the rules are for your area, or just to get a phone number to call someone up and say, hey, I'm going to be in this area during this time frame, and I need to know what to do in order to be registered. And the process across the board is generally pretty simple. Now, I can't go through exact steps because each state has a little bit of different issues, but the process is generally set up to make it easy for individuals to register, and most states have it to where you just go to the county clerk, fill out a form, and you're good to go, or the local DMV.
Okay. Well, anyway, we also have some resources and some links available for you guys. We'll either send them out in an email. You were telling me that or if they were on site, they could get it personally in writing or on paper. But we'll be available to send this out to you guys so that you have more information to vote.
And David, I just want to mention one more thing before we go on to our next subject here. But in order to continue with the idea of contact the registration office, you may also qualify if you're already registered for an absentee ballot. All right. So make sure that you actually contact the voter registration office and tell them your situation, and they will be able to give you a direct answer as to whether you can do an absentee ballot and send that off. Keep things simple, right? Or if you have to go and register in your specific location. If you're not currently registered here in Floyd County, Kentucky, then you need to make sure that you talk to your local voter registration office. If you are registered here, you should probably give them a call and see if you could just simply request that absentee ballot.
All right, Jeff. The next thing we're going to talk about, electoral college, because it's something personally that until I started following politics, you know how it is, man. You get a little older, you want to follow politics a little bit more, listen to talk radio instead of music, and I didn't quite understand it. Give the folks out there watching the video a little bit of a lesson on the electoral college.
The Electoral College is essentially a set of votes. Since we're a constitutional republic, it's the republic voting, not necessarily the popular vote, one vote, one person, all right? And the way that works is in every state, there's a collection of votes, kind of like a honeypot, if you will, that the candidates come around and they're trying to play Winnie the Pooh to get the honeypot, right?
Okay.
And the thing is there's only one Winnie the Pooh in each state, except for like 2 states because they like to do their own thing. That's okay. But almost every state comes around, and a person that gets the most votes in the state takes the honeypot. They get the whole shebang, all right? Now, that being said, whenever you get states that have more people, they have more representatives in Congress. And in the Electoral College, there's 1 vote per senator and per House representative. So the House representatives particularly are divvied up by population. So the more people you get, the more votes go into the Electoral College. So states like California have more votes than Kentucky.
So in essence, the more population a state has, because each state is represented independently when the country was set up, that each state wanted to be represented not just as part of the country, but individual is like, let's say their own, I hate to say country, but like their own entity. So they have, instead of just sending all the votes that are collected, one person, one vote, each state has their own collection of electoral college votes. And it depends on population?
Correct. Including D.C., they get 3 votes in the matter. It's important to ensure that we keep people represented, and that's how we do it with D.C. But yeah, that's the short and get it of the Electoral College. And just remember, everybody loves watching Winnie the Pooh, so you get to go pick who's going to be winning for the next 4 years.
Oh yeah, and it's every year they say it's the biggest election, it's going to be the most important, but the fact of the matter is, I think not only is it, and people say it's your responsibility to vote. I also believe it's your responsibility to find out at least a little bit about these candidates so that you know what you're voting for. So if you want to vote, try to get some information. You can't follow everything, but you can get enough information to make an intelligent decision, which kind of transitions into another thing that we were talking about is everybody knows and talks about and hears about the presidential election, but probably more important than the big national elections is your local elections.
Absolutely correct, David. And for everyone going out to vote, I would say choose your own agenda. Sit down and think of what is important to me as a person and to me as part of my family, and make your agenda. Go out and vote that agenda, whatever that may be. For the local candidates, you have to take a look at what is going to be impacted for you on your agenda, meaning your local candidates actually impact you on a day-to-day basis. You can have a president or senators, they go to D.C., they have their functions, but really they don't impact us on a day-to-day basis. So when you look at your local candidates, you might want to take a little extra time to look into what these individuals are doing and how they impact what you want out of life.
Okay, that's a great way of looking at it. So just because some things get more notoriety, like obviously the President of the United States, believe it or not, the President of the United States doesn't have as much power to affect your life. And I know there are probably exceptions or what have you, but the local politicians are the ones that probably have more impact in your life and that we maybe know the least about.
Yeah, they have a more frequent impact because it is literally day to day. All rules get in a layered method, meaning we have federalism, so you have federal rules that have to be followed and laws. You have state laws and rules. You have local laws and rules. And as you get closer to you as a person, the more often those rules and laws are going to impact you. So pay attention to the entire ballot. You can even have a say in who gets to mediate problems that arise. So if there's a dispute between people or a criminal trial, you get to vote on the judges that hear those. So it's highly important to take a look at your ballot ahead of time and see what's going to be best for you.
Okay. Well, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with anyone about the election?
All that I want to put out there is make sure now that you contact the voter registration office to verify your status if you've already registered and your location as to whether or not you're still able to vote where you're registered. And if you haven't registered, go now, because not all states have the same time period in their voter registration process. And your time period, if you're currently away from center, may be far different than what it is here. And since we're less than 30 days out for your registration freezing here in Kentucky, you need to make sure you get registered so that you can have your vote count.
Okay. All right. So for Job Corps, our guest, Mr. Jeff Ray, I'm Dave Romero, and we'll see you next time for our next video.